Good evening, everyone. How are you? Good, good. Nice to see so many folks out here tonight for what's going to be a wonderful performance. As you heard, my name is Angela King. I host Morning Edition on KUOW 94.9 Seattle, and that is, of course, NPR. And on behalf of the Jackson Street Music Program, welcome to Jazz in the City's Jazz Equals Culture performance. And I would just like to thank Benaroya Hall's Octave 9 Raisbeck Music Center for supporting local artists and creating and offering up such a lovely venue to showcase the local talent that we have here and some of the performers you will see tonight. But one thing that struck me about the title of the program, Jazz Equals Culture. Jazz is at the center of American culture, although it doesn't get that kind of recognition. Outside of, and as I'm going to preach to the choir, so I know you folks know, but you know, it is, yes, ma'am. It is just such a joy to see jazz celebrated and appreciated. Outside of our native populations and the music that they created, the indigenous people, jazz is considered our country's original native music. It was born out of the African American experience and really flourished during the Harlem Renaissance. It has survived through the centuries, and it is going strong because of your support and because of the musicians that we are going to hear from tonight. But rather than preach to you, we have a wonderful video presentation that highlights the role of the Harlem Renaissance in the growth of jazz. So I invite you to sit back and enjoy this video and turn your attention to the screen. Thank you so much.
The Great Migration at the beginning of the 20th century was the start of a 7-decade population shift of 6 million African Americans from the American South to the cities in the North and Western United States. The period known as the Harlem Renaissance of 1920s and 30s was the mecca for African American artists and intellectuals, reflecting a self-definition of African American aesthetics and perspectives. Harlemites, such as Alelia Walker, the daughter of Madam C.J. Walker, hosted artists, intellectuals, and aristocrats at the famed Dark Tower on West 136th Street in Harlem. Jazz music's urban transformation represented a new attitude of city life, reflecting an urbane lifestyle. Its influence was visible in popular culture's literature, visual art, music, theater, film, radio, and fashion of the first half of the 20th century. As a writer, Langston Hughes illustrated his love of blues and jazz within his works. His poem Weary Blues, published in 1926 during the Harlem Renaissance, exemplifies how blues and jazz influenced the content and the context of Hughes' writings. The Canadian Broadcast Corporation's 1958 film of Langston Hughes' reading of Weary Blues shows how his poem was rhythmically fluid with an accompanying jazz combo.
Mr. Langston Hughes, American poet, dramatist, novelist, lyricist, lecturer. He's in town to give a lecture at UBC, but he's here tonight to read poetry, his own poetry, to a jazz accompaniment. We have Alan Miller to interview him. We have Doug Parker and his band to provide the jazz, and Mr. Langston Hughes has his own accompaniment, his own introduction.
Sun's a setting. This is what I'm gonna sing. Sun's a setting. This is what I'm gonna sing. I feel the blues a comin'. I wonder what the blues will bring. In a drowsy, syncopated tune, rocking back and forth to a mellow croon, I heard a Negro play. Down on Lenox Avenue the other night, by the pale, dull pallor of a one-bulb light, he did a lazy sway. He did a lazy sway to the tune of those weary blues. With his ebony hands on each ivory key, he made that poor piano moan with melody. Oh, blues. Swaying to and fro on his rickety stool, he played that sad, raggy tune like a musical fool. Sweet blues, coming from a black man's soul. Oh, blues. Deep song voice with a melancholy tone, I heard that Negro sing, that old piano moan. Ain't got nobody in all this world, ain't got nobody but myself. I was going to quit my frowning and put my troubles on the shelf. Thump, 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 when he's put on the floor. He played a few chords, then he sang some more. I got the weary blues, I can't be satisfied. Got the weary blues, I can't be satisfied. I ain't happy no more, and I wish that I had died. Far into the night, he crooned that tune. The stars went out, and so did the moon. The singer stopped playing and went to bed, while the weary blues echoed through his head. He slept like a rock, or a man that's dead.
You know, it's interesting to see the QR code, is that what it's called? On the screen, and just having witnessed that incredible archival footage. To see just how far we've come, but have not forgotten about our past. And on behalf of the folks who put this video together, thank you so much. It was just such a warm moment to hear the voice, to hear the music and the words and the poetry come together in such a poignant moment. So we're going to move on to both things, both music and poetry. It is my honor to introduce our first performer tonight, Darrius Willrich. Okay. Well, I'm good, because I have some reviews here I was going to share with you, but it sounds like you folks already know how good Darius is. As you may know, and for those of you who don't know, Darius is a graduate of Seattle University and Cornish College of Arts with a degree in jazz piano, my absolute favorite. Darius is an adjunct faculty member of Seattle Central College and North Seattle College Continuing Education. He is a touring member of the Grammy Award-winning Diggable Planets Band and a member of the Jazz Trio Folks Project. And I was looking for some words to describe and share with you what Darius' music is like, but there were some critics who said it best. And these words are just, they are poetic in and of themselves. Darius his music has been described as having uplifting messages, encouraging love of life, and sweetly lyrical, harmonically rich sounds, have made him a much sought after performer. He always strikes that with honesty and a delicacy that really defines soul music. And I love this one. Willrich plays in a creamy, harmonically sophisticated style, moves melodies and carries harmonies across a spectrum of soul, blues, and R&B. So without further ado, please welcome Darrius Willrich.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Good to see you folks here. It's cold outside. Good to be in here. It's a beautiful instrument I get to play. I'm going to do a classic. I think Bessie Smith introduced it.
Thank you. But guess what? The treat doesn't end there. I have the honor of introducing our next performer. And she is a woman many of you already know. She is well respected and well known for her work. I'm talking about poet Minnie Collins. Minnie is a award-winning professor. She has published works. The following include The Purple Wash, published in 2012, Palm Power, Hearts in Harmony, as well as her upcoming book, Sycamore Stew. Right? In addition, Minnie Collins' commissioned works include commemoration plaques and installation at Seattle's historical Liberty Bank Building apartments, and just some other interesting things I was reading about Minnie. She has been described as a truly creative soul who has the inner vision to see and to interpret with words the essence of life in the world around her. She illuminates and shares the sensory details of her own lived experience. And I had a few moments backstage to talk to Minnie a little bit about her lived experience. This is a woman who grew up in a town with dirt roads and in the segregated East Coast in Virginia. And it is that experience that has helped her develop the talents that she will share with us here tonight. So it is my complete honor to welcome Minnie Collins.
Hello again. Wow. I'm looking around and I see so many friends, colleagues, church members, and you know we're going to shout, right? Okay. Members of the African American Writers Alliance, colleagues from Seattle University, University of Washington, wherever I have been, I just give honor to God that all of you have touched me in so many special ways. And those ways have brought me to this point where I am being honored to participate tonight by two former students at Seattle U. Paul Johnson, who's seated here in the front with his family, and Dr. James Gore, who is Jackson Street Music. So it is just wonderful. Yes. So all of you are the sunshine of my life. And you have all just continued to smile. And I see that big smile from you, Paul, right now. Okay. Harlem Renaissance. Every Renaissance has both its pros and cons. In the video, we saw all of these wonderful intellectuals, highly fashionable personalities, both known and unknown. But when I think about that sunshine and I think about the migration, it makes me go back to folk, F-O-L-K, folk, folks, if you want to put an S on it, because they are the originators of the spoken word, the oral literature that's seldom acknowledged. But without folk literature, there wouldn't be any jazz or anything that's jazzy, okay? And by folk, I mean spirituals. When you get up and you shout in church. Kitchen table memories. Come on. I'm asking you to add some more in here. This is not just a one-way street, okay? Shout out some other examples of folk. I don't know them all. I can list them. The beauty shop. There you go. Yes. What was that? Front porch. Yes. Anything else? All right, today the nail shop. But so much of it has come from the roots of folk material. So that's where I want to start. I have to get my books and things out. Daryl has been such a generous, giving person to improvise with my thoughts. Okay. We migrated, many of us, from southern small towns. And in the migrations, we left behind people that really gave us our values. We may have forgotten those values, but I think often of the land, dirt. All of those mean so much to me. And the people who toiled and tilled those lands. I think especially of the men, the women, and even children who tilled the land. And that's why I wrote this selection called Forgotten Soldiers, Black Farmers. Generals of generational acres, rising at dawn, sharpening their bending blades, charging toward horizons, filling silos, rail cars, wagons, all engines for global profits. Black farmers, generals of their own territories, armored in denim and canvas shields, steering right, steering left, knowing when to clutch. Plowing, grinding through the Department of Agriculture with rows of no loans, no subsidies, land foreclosed, defaulted, delayed, denied by agribusinesses and seed company monopolies. Black farmers, forgotten soldiers, plowing ahead, seeding the acres, herding cows. Put on your agri-tech and legal armor. Mobilize your troops. National Black Farmers Association. Meet the Department of Agriculture's complicated online documents and applications. Never tiring. Harvesting administrative justice, court cases, settlements, appropriations. Payments maybe in 2022 or 23 if you're qualified and defined as farmers. Forgotten soldiers, black farmers, harvest those skirmishes, win the battle for your land rights, regain, retain our generational assets. The Seattle Public Library Foundation had a fascinating exhibit that was called Black Activism. It was Black Activism in Print. It was coordinated by our new director of the collection of African American Collection and Community Engagement Librarian, Tyler, and of course, she decided that the African American Writers Alliance would participate. And in this room are many of those writers who did participate. I chose this particular picture or print that was done in many ways with local artists. But the original sharecropper is a print by Elizabeth Catlett that was donated to the library, Seattle Public Library, in 1967. It's called sharecropper, sharecropper. Notice the hat. I know it's hard to see. It has a brim and it has a crown. A brim and a crown. Where I lived, some of the elderly women would take grasses and weave or bind them in many ways and make their own hats. In this poem called Crowns Above the Brims. Golden woven grains, regal crowns of souls and wisdom. Crowns hold self-determined codes from the North Star, safe houses, quilts, colored lights, underground codes, sometimes called underground railroads. Crowns pinned with possibilities, pinned with safety to steal away, steal away, steal away to Jesus. I ain't got long to stay here. Those crowns were clothed and cloaked to rise above those brims that hide and shade those somber dark shadows. Those shadows of never shared crops, stunted servitude. But what they don't understand, brims, those shadows, perish without a crown. Crowns of wisdom, spirit, and determination persist even without a brim. Okay. African American Writers' latest volume. It's called Black Writers Unmasked. Okay. As Darius and I have gone through this, he's going to improvise as a jazz musician. Okay. As we migrated from the South, moving north, we expected, yearned for better lives, conditions, working situations, some form of at least acceptance. But sometimes when it was my turn to go home, to go back to see my grandmother, I was raised by my grandmother, I thought often of her son coming from the north to the south. It also reminded me of the very famous book called The Green Book, the travel book for us as we travel south. It provided a safe haven, a place to eat, an overnight stay, or at least a comfort zone that said, I can maybe make it through the night. When I participated in the Green Book program with other African American Writers Alliance members at the Tacoma Museum, I had all these flashbacks to the time when my father had to drive south to leave us with his mother. It's entitled Bessie. How many of you have owned cars and you call them a certain name? Shout out some of those names. All right. Any other names? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. You see, You have a name for a car or mode of transportation too. Well, my dad called his little round Ford, you know, it looked like a little round ball. He called it Bessie. But it's also a reflection of the Green Book, okay, travel. Bessie rolled at midnight across state lines. Bessie held bushels of fruit, vegetables, and whatever else he could barter or exchange for services. Bessie rocked 4 school children, not knowing for sure where, why, who's gonna be there, how. Wow. Bessie exhausted this weary driver with a coiling pipe smoke coiling out the window. Bessie only stopped for those swift, small steps between anywhere he could find roadside trees and shrubs, shadows, headlights, ghost figures. Bessie rumbled and sputtered as those tiny steps tumbled in and out across the axle down to the red clay to the nearest bush. Bessie feared being stopped by the midnight patrols going deeper south. Bessie forced a father, weary and tense, to push that gauge more quickly. Bessie raced against the never-ending solid white lines, leaping around those broken white lines to pass those unknown trucks, seemingly heavy laden. But Bessie rocked and lulled that weary load of children until midnight. When Bessie finally spilled out those small steps, mumbling and tumbling into an unknown bed, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom of a 4-post bed. But uneasy Bessie did not rest. She only got an oil and water check. Breathing hard, running hot, into reverse, she thrust that driver, who had no time to answer or explain to us children, why are we here? Where are you going? Where are we? Reliable Bessie had to race against the morning light, return him before time ran out. You don't have to clap after each one. Sometimes when I'm reading these, it brings back too many memories. Okay. But my grandmother was a part of the Green Book, not listed in the Green Book because it wasn't uncommon for many women in homes in the South to offer a room, a dinner, a meal to anyone traveling. This was our way of communicating as well as offering company, solace, even safety, however small. And I call this Sundays with Speck because she was involved with doing just those things of helping travelers find their way. But this Speck, S-P-E-C-K, was different. Speck, mason, sculptor, chiseler, hammer of stone. My grandmother, stern but comforting, sculpting stones to be somebody. She chiseled those grands to obey the 10 Commandments. Sunday school at 9, church at 10, dinner at 2, youth service at 7. Don't forget it. Hammered rules into our heads. No playing cards. None of that silver screen stuff. She hated paying for our alley back door to go upstairs and sit in the balcony. We grands thought we had the best seats because we could see over everybody. But then she said, none of that blues stuff either. Sorry, Darius. Okay, no blues. That's evil music. No smoking. But we cowered outside her son's room, our uncle, to listen to and smell his forbidden joys of booze and smoke. Specs girls don't date unless you really knew the parents. School's out at 3, you better be home by 3:30. And don't go down that street. You know what I mean. You stay away from that bad street, all that cussing and drinking and flaunting. But temptations called. Curiosity overrules sometimes. I did. But knowing those old watchers on the streets, the window watchers, the porch watchers, they sent the gossip lines before I got home. Aha, but it was worth the risk. Spec sat in her swing throne, waving her walking cane, reigned over all of her homemade toddler's dresses in Buster Brown's, where Saturday night heads with brown paper twists on Sunday became Medusa's unfurled, lined up on the front porch rocking chairs as if on display of look at my grands. But Spec was proud of her sculpturing and hammering. Be somebody, she said. I said, too much chiseling, too many rules. I was so happy when I turned 15. I finished high school and left. But Spec says, to be with me, you gotta follow the rules. Okay. But there's always love, no matter where you are. I call this one Love Index. Had it already there. Love Index. The heart, not the face, is a love index. Orifices from the heart pound life-giving reds. Release unfurled, suspended rhythms radiating life from past to future generations. Orifices from the radiating life index circulate soothing synapses, security, serenity, recycling shields of reds and whites to fight against enemies unrealized, hidden, suppressed, unfurling moods indigo. Orifices of the heart, console us. Everything's gonna be all right. Just give it time. Be all right. This little light of mine, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine to nourish others. Be selfless, be generous. The heart, not the face, is the love index. And then I always think of my granddaughter. Here we go. It's called Sugar Cone. Strawberry, blueberry, and lemon fill my sugar cone. Tinkles and sprinkles of neon footprints tap the samba on my hardwood floors. Cotton puff caramel fingers turn raspberries into finger puppets, staging Dora the Explorer on my fine porcelain. She's an interior house decorator, an award for pillow towers, upside down kitchen chairs, and tunnels, sheet-covered table tents, drum boxes, and symphonic tin pots and pans, carpet swept with a fireplace broom. Always challenging me to track meets and gymnastics down the hallway that is too short. And the winner is, you guessed it, who is it? Sugar Cone. Gulping and slurping, wow, and savoring that last melt before she had to go. Syrup is now dry on each memory tip. So sweet, and luscious. I want to keep her frozen in time, like any other delectable treat. It melts, yet satisfies until the craving returns. Next time, I want a triple scoop on my sugar cone. And then for all of the lovers in this room, high on Bird. Who is Bird in the jazz field, the music field? Anyone know about a bird? Charlie Bird. Do you know a Dizzy? Who? All right. Do you know a Miles? All right. Then you are with me in this poem. It was inspired by a painting at the Onyx Fine Arts Gallery downtown. And the title of that particular painting was Bird. Okay. High on Bird. Got to put me in the mood here. Okay. In a soulful mood, round about midnight, where no boundary lines exist, we fly high on weed, even high on reed, going from dizzy in love to miles of madness, stirring up a jam session. I mean a jamming session. We crook, we curve, we do a U-bend, calling in muddy waters blues, dipping, flying low, soaring, always swooping, head up, head down, head forward, calling, responding, sighing, groaning, arching skyward, letting go, softening, reaching paradise. Wow, lovers in Yardbird Suite. Thank you for participating. Now, I would like for you to do something for me. I would like for you to look left, look right, look behind you. If you're sleepy, continue to sleep. Because, you know, these poems can relax you. Can say, you know, I can go home and meditate and think about some good stuff. Maybe I want to be high. Okay. Okay. What? On weed or whatever you choose. Okay. In my time, we called it weed. Today, you call it cannabis. Okay, as you look left, right, and behind, what do you see? How do you know you see what you think you see? Do we form judgments when we look at others? I call this one inequity lens, L-E-N-S, lens. Eyes name you, judge you, label you, even undress you, unfortunately eliminate you. Eyes say more than words. Eyes passionately love you, of course, under the right conditions. Since East African Lucy 3.2 million years ago to America's 403-year-old lens, these lenses have forged a caste, a divisive system among us by skintocracy. Hair, face, nose, lips, gender choices, old people, physically, mentally challenged and even unsheltered, causing rejection and confrontations among us all. Do I have malicious myopia? Do I have macular degeneration? I have to ask myself, does it shroud my independent lens of self and communities? Too often, all I hear or see are headliners of killed, shot at, incarcerated, always on that darn television, only to be sure my ratings are high. Never or seldom on my independent lens are stories of homeliners. Homeliners of happiness, love, family, providers, and success. Kitchen tables, partners, food equity, sharing problems, wisdom, even disagreeing, but respecting. I don't want to be dependent on that opaque optic degeneration or double vision standards of dual consciousness. I don't want that lazy eye glaucoma. I have hope and plans for critical race theory gels, eyelid wipes to clean, refresh, and contain those contaminant dryness. Because we are not in this together. I'm still believing and hoping and planning for alliances and solidarity to correct my fog, my blurred lens and vision. Because I have faced and still continued facing too many layers of lies. And this poem is called Layered Lies. This was a product also of an exhibit from the University of Washington several years ago, where the African American writers were invited to talk and speak. Layered lies. Lies lie layered in labyrinths of lore, laid by legendary legions of then and now, laying since indigenous landscapes, labeling even indigenous as the other, labeling me and maybe you with arsenic labels, leached and laced with lie, L-Y-E, then legislated, legitimized into lethargic, illogical lessons, into lopsided, lascivious larceny, lulling me, maybe you, into listlessness. Enough, enough. Let us lasso and lynch these lascivious leashes. Expel these lodestone laxatives. Help me to labor and long, to learn to be critical, to even read lies my teacher told me. Still laboring to learn, evaluate all sources, primary and whitewash. Let us lay lie, L-Y-E, and critical thinking on whitewashed lies, L-I-E-S. And my last piece, we've talked a lot about the Harlem Renaissance because it perhaps achieved the most attention. It was a time of being in vogue, fashionable. But I want you to understand, too, that there was a Renaissance in Detroit, in Chicago, Durham, North Carolina, and other places that I have not researched yet. But because of the Renaissance in Harlem, I want us to not overlook the Renaissance in Seattle, in Columbia City, in the Central District, or maybe in any area where you live. There's a rebirth, a revitalization, or however you wish to name it. And this is a part of the plaques on the Liberty Bank building site, which is now called the Liberty Bank Building Apartments. I won't read it all. Speaking for ourselves, here we stand on indigenous Liberty Bank ground. Here heritage and legacy sustain. Courage, creativity, and challenges. Redlining no more, racial covenants outlawed. Economic accomplishments for cross-cultural communities. Central District, our CD community, pioneers and entrepreneurs since 1860. Here we migrated, generations during wars, in factories, among churches, community organizations, forging heart, family, faith, spirit, soul, crisscrossing Union, Cherry, Jefferson, Yesler, Jackson, Rainier, now enfolding Martin Luther King Jr. way. Here we once grew to 80%. Our mission, civil rights, careers, profession, museums. We educated, graduated, educated, and advocated us to vote. Liberty, bank building, time and transition among you still. Endure we will. What we gonna do? Fifth generation, next generation? We are partners and coalitions for Central District economic expansion and ownership with Africa Town, Centerstone, Capitol Hill Housing, the Medium, the Facts, the Alliances, Civil City Hall. Keep coming on, Pan-Africans, making plans, having our say at all decision tables. Keep coming on, Pan-Africans. Keep coming on. As Sterling Brown says, strong men, and I add women and others. Keep coming on. Keep coming on. Ashe, ashe. Thank you. Thank you very much.